got into streaming a couple months ago between my fumbling through the world and gaming all of my life, but now fumbling into streaming and stuff.
One thing that's really important to me is the kids learn to be positive influence, to not be toxic. I've seen kids get really mean and be bullies.
If the industry truly wants to actually serve these communities, and it's going to come from a publisher down, we're going to have to provide support behind titles that can be played on the platform that these communities can actually have access to. It comes from the publisher down, it's just the empathy comes from the businesses and the consumers down.
You know what? Let me in front of you. Let me be your shield, and that way you don't die as quick.
In addition, I think one of the more exciting things I got to do is I got to be one of the official co-streamers for the Overwatch League opening day this past season.
Well, my background's actually in acting. I went to school for musical theater back in the day. I don't think I can talk and clean. It's very complicated.
All good things sometimes must come to an end. I'm actually leaving the world of education.
What?
Yep, big reveal. 6 days. I'm actually in conversations right now about my next steps.
This was announced officially here in the public on the show. Were you a CIA agent? I just had to ask you.
I was not. I did work in the Bureau of Intelligence and Research.
Oh crap! Oh crap!
Oh no! Well, it looks like.
I should have stayed so close to the edge.
ESA is the voice and advocate for the video game industry in the United States.
And we're really lucky in that we get to stay really mission driven and stay focused on the impact that this is having on students and schools. We don't really need to get into the nitty gritty of the numbers, which is, I think the thing is like an educator you probably fear when you're leaving the classroom.
If you'd like to be on Invite Sent to be interviewed and play video games, please go to bubbagaddert.com and request to be on the show. And I'll let you know if the invite is sent.
Oh my god.
Trade. Hey Kyle, welcome on YouTube, man.
Big guy. Come on. You won't.
How do you heal and how do you live? What?
He threw a black hole at us like Thanos. You can't. That's not a button. I don't have that button.
I don't have that button either. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Hello. Welcome to the show. Hello, and welcome to Spotlight. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Bubba Geddert. I'm your host today. We are on all sorts of platforms. We're in 9 places for you. LinkedIn, Kick, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok. Thank you guys for being here. We decided to put this show together. We've had a few episodes. We're going to have some more episodes coming soon with a lot of the gaming and esports space going through a bit of consolidation. We decided, hey, let's get some people on here who are amazing. We have had other shows where we have amazing people and play games with them and do other things, but Spotlight is really about putting a spotlight on these amazing people. And today we have the super amazing Nick D'Orazio. How are you, sir?
Super amazing? That's like my own Mario game, you know?
It's a me, Nick.
Yeah,
there we go.
It's super amazing, Nick Roswell. I mean, I am doing super amazing. Thanks to have me here, Bubba. You know me. I love video games. I love working, and I love talking. So this is
perfect. Yeah, this is perfect. I think I'm not sure if you remember. We shared a panel maybe back in 2020 in the height of all the. Is it Ivan or Invin Global?
I believe this is the academic summit, right? I want to remember it was one of those IGCs. Yeah, sure. It was the online one. We had a virtual summit.
Yeah, we had. Yes, we definitely have had some of those. And but is it Ivan Global? Is that the name of that company?
Yeah, Inven. So Inven Global. Yeah, they're like the who's who in esports in Korea. So Inven Global was their North American. Well, is their North American, I guess, branch. And yeah, I worked there for 4.5 years. Started as a journalist.
That's great.
And, yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
So, okay, that's where I did you host were you hosting like big events during that time and I remember seeing you all over the place.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm glad you said that because every event I host is big. No, but yeah, I was hosting like a lot of things. So we did the Invent Global Esports Summit, which was the big one. We did that 4 years.
Yeah.
And then we did the Investment Summit, which was great. We did that 2 years, and I think 1 remote. Then we did 3 years of the Academic Summit. I believe one of those was remote, or maybe 2.
Okay.
And then, like there was also just a bunch of little stuff. If you were around like UCI Irvine or any of like the West Coast colleges, I was really big on like grassroots esports, still am. I was also, I suppose when we met, I was like Overwatch League reporter every day. So if you were into that, you were probably just seeing my dumb little face around talking about why Mercy needs to get nerfed,
I also didn't know you did Overwatch stuff. That's actually really, really cool.
Yeah. See, it's the interesting thing about, I call myself like a gaming mercenary because I just know how to translate complicated game narratives, mechanics, copy needs to simplified, engaged audiences. So when you do that for over 10, 12 years, like, you say yes to anything because you can pretty reliably do anything. Like my adaptability, my flexibility, my ability to look at a big, hairy gaming problem and be like, okay, don't worry, we got it. That's pretty much what I've been doing throughout my career. So it's a lot of like agile problem solving. It's a lot of working on your feet. That's probably why you've seen me around.
So let's go back. Let's get people a little bit of baseline for who Nick is and why I almost use you as a third person. Why you are amazing. Let's start.
I ask myself that every day,
It's an easy answer, and I think we're gonna figure it out today, and people are gonna hear about it. I want to go back to Little Nick, and what was Little Nick's first video game?
This is such a good question. My first video game, I'm pretty sure it was Chip and Dale for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Are you in your 30s? How old are you?
Oh, I'm 33. Yeah.
Okay.
33.
Yeah. All right.
So, and I remember though playing it with my parents. My parents were major gamers. So my parents were the gamers in the house. There were 5 of us kids. So my first memory was visually seeing the 2 little chipmunks. But my first game, the game that like I played, that I first realized like, oh, you can express yourself through games. Like I'd say it was probably Pokemon Blue. Because Pokemon Blue was Pokemon Blue was the first time that like I realized, and I think my peers and my sisters, that like, oh, I'm good at video games. Like all of my Pokemon rock. Like I understand this game. Like I understand the weaknesses. I understand that like I just got it. And it's maybe easier said now because gaming is so ubiquitous, so popular. But back in the day, is like, no, this is a Game Boy game. Like the concept of an RPG, the concept of like a pocket sim monster, like these weren't just household names. So that was like really formative for me. I remember as a kid, getting so much confidence in my ability to now socialize around games. You find other kids that are just like you talking a mile a minute about why Eradicate's the best normal type of Pokemon, And I suppose if I really wanted to fast forward, it was that love of min-maxing. It was when I got into then like the Pokemon card game, which was like also I was into Magic the Gathering and I was into StarCraft. Like the idea that games could be taken competitively, that's when I started to bloom, because then all of my interests and passions were being rewarded by a community that just said, more video games.
So then going forward, let's go through middle school, high school. Is that the same time frame? The games you're into?
Yes, and I love how you're giving me a timeline, because now I can just. I remember Super Smash Bros. Melee was when I started to shine as a competitive gamer. I was around 14, 13, and my dad would drive me around colleges around Arizona just to find people that I could compete with. Older students, and just being around that much competition, and they were older than me, they were so much better than me, but at the same time they weren't. I was like really practicing every day. My father saw that I was competitive about it. So then, fast forward, I'm now 18, I'm working at a video game store, and I'm putting on my own tournaments. This is a play-in trade in Arizona. Shout outs to Axe, shout outs to Wobbles, shout outs to all those Taj, AZ Melee legends. They really showing up to the tournaments I put on and destroying people, that was another eye-opening moment to see these pro players. They weren't even pros back then. No one knew Axe was a pro back then. He was just like that really friendly guy in Arizona that was the best at Pikachu. But that was, I suppose, my first entry into what we now call the esports community, although I was always in it online. And then I became a journalist. So when you start showing up to the events and producing the events, and these like local small things, like Arizona locals at Arizona State, or some tournament in someone's basement or a bar.
Yeah.
But if you're the type of story-minded person and detail-minded person that I am, there was just so many cool upsets happening. There were so many cool storylines. So I started videoing. I started making YouTube videos.
Okay.
I started writing. I just started talking to players, kind of cementing myself. And then, really, I hate saying this phrase, but the rest is history, right? I then started working for Gosu, Gamers.
Yeah, I want to dive into Gosu, but I want to go before we get to Gosu, which I know that's 2014, but before that, you were talking. I didn't know this, that you were saying when you're 18, you were running events and tournaments. But was this at Arizona State when you were getting your bachelor's and you were doing the stuff in is that film and stuff? So what's happening there in the college time from that 18-year-old doing this role in esports tournaments and Melee, and then before you get to Gosu, what's happening there?
So I have always had a simple plan for me, is that I love to chase a million things at once. I'm like a dog, right? So I never try to limit the things I chase. I just chase them all at once. And then whichever one is making the most money or doing the most, I just focus more on that. So when I was 18, I was also the president of our film association in school. So I was putting on a lot of, crew outs and crew calls and film festivals. And I was also working on short films and stuff, just the full-on film school student. And it was really a balance between the tournaments, the film school, and the writing. And as long as I could just do those three and still go through school, I figured when I graduate, I have 3 possible lanes, because all I wanted was a job out of college. I had jobs all throughout college. I was an RA or a CA, a resident assistant, whatever you want to call it, all throughout college. I always was trying to find work. So I worked in student media. I was on the ASU newspaper, right? Just anything to get money, because some of us need it, right? We all do.
Right.
And I remember it was when I got out of college, I graduated. My first job was as a video editor, because I went to film school, and I went to film school because I love to edit combo videos, but that eventually just got me doing work editing people's short films and stuff.
Okay.
And that was around the time when Justin TV just came out. When I graduated college, so then I started streaming.
Yeah, 2012. Yeah. Okay, so you started streaming. So was there content being done on other platforms before then with this stuff you're doing when you're 18?
Yeah. So I remember
eBombs World. I don't know.
Oh my God, eBombs World. Shout outs to Lemon Party. It's a great animator. It's a little old school though.
Nice.
You know what? I'd say back. Let me see if I can get my memory. Justin TV was new, and I remember this was when Street Fighter 4 just came out. So we called them 09ers because there was this huge new collection of people who were fans of Street Fighter for the first time. So in terms of stream viewership, that was huge, because you have all of these OG Street Fighter players who they're new to streaming, but they're not new to gaming. So when you have Justin Wong start streaming, or Filipino Champ, or all of these mainstays, they start to gain followers quickly. I think that was one of the first beats I was writing about. I was just writing about their streams, and this was from I wasn't trying to make money. This is someone who's obsessed with Street Fighter 4 gameplay, and I'm just trying to figure out is Zangief bad? Well, this top Zangief player just streamed a gameplay for 5 hours. Those would be the type of articles I would write and deep dive into. And at first it was for no one else but me. I was creating stuff for my tribe. But I guess to get back to what we were saying, Gosu Gamers was then just a site that I saw once. Hey, we're looking for writers, and then I just wrote them like 5 different articles about 5 different games. It was like Hearthstone, Warcraft 3, Counter Strike, all of the classics. And then they said, and it was funny. It was so cheap. They paid me so little. I love Gosu Gamers, but the time was different. I was writing like these articles like $50 a week or something. It was ridiculous. But you do that long enough, and you eventually get a little more responsibility. And Bubba, here's the turn. I know I've said a lot, but the turn in my career is when at Gosu Gamers, as just a humble little journalist, I was just writing about whatever they let me.
Okay.
This game, Heroes of the Storm, came out during alpha. And I said, guys, I love MOBAs. I love Blizzard. Let me make the Heroes of the Storm section on our site. Like, I'll do it. I'll write the articles. I'll do it all. And it went great. Tons of views. It was awesome. So then that led into starting the Overwatch section. So then before you know it, I was a crew lead. And then before you know it, I was section lead. So then before you know it, I have like a real job at Gosu Gamers because I'm like managing the Heroes of the Storm and the Overwatch sections. And that's purely off of just writing about what I was obsessed with, and eventually the quality attracts a community. And that's kind of, the definition of my career since. Just trying to do things with authenticity.
What drove you to journalism with a degree in film? I mean, because of all this gaming, because of all the desire to like just break down and write content about it or report on people? I mean, what was like the defining factor?
Bubba,
did it come from a film degree? Is really what I'm trying to get at.
When I was a kid, I remember, I forgot the name of it, but there was this game where you like played as this little aqua explorer scientist kid. And it was like a point and click adventure. And all you had to do was like rescue a dolphins and rescue a wildlife. And you like lived on the beach with them, right? When I was a kid, I literally thought that would be my job. I thought that's it. I'm like, I love animals. And that's it. I want to be the guy who lives near the beach and has to protect all the animals, right? But when I went to college and I first studied in poetry, my first 2 years in college was poetry, actually. And the reason I told that story is because those first 2 years taught me something. The college is going to teach me whatever I want, but it's not going to employ me. It's not going to just give me a job. Like, jobs they're not just thrown at you. So the reason I switched from poetry to film school, and mind you, this was not because like I had this secret yearning, burning for film. Like I always loved film, but it was because I needed a practical skill. I needed to leave college with a set of technical skills that would allow me to work with creative people and like create things that I wanted. I've always described myself as a creative doer, someone who likes to be on their feet, gathering the crowd to go scale the big mountain, but creatively. So instead of scaling the mountain, let's make the movie, let's write the book, let's make the content. So film to me was like a practical pivot towards a lesson I learned early in college that like, I could just kind of, I'm not saying waste my time because I love poetry, I still do, but I'm not going to sit there and go to school at Arizona State for 4 years in poetry when there's actually tons of other opportunities using Arizona State. Like it was the biggest film school in the US, like per capita people, kids, not the richest film school, not the most high quality film school, but the biggest. So I figured, you know what, there's an opportunity there. I'd rather be in that mix of it than in a small little poetry corner. So too long didn't read version of it. Film, producing, that's a lot like tournament producing. It's the organization of complex things, all informed by a budget that eventually needs to be convinced to stakeholders that this is a creative endeavor that will make money, right? Like trying to do things in gaming and trying to produce things in gaming is very similar to trying to produce things in Hollywood, in film. So I suppose to recap, I just do all the things I want, and then whichever one is most successful, I do that more.
Do you know what your personality is on like different personality tests? Do you know those?
I love that you asked those because I'm a huge personality test person.
Same.
I've taken Myers-Briggs a million times. I'm always ENFP.
Yeah.
So
all
I'm
right, great.
always.
I can see that.
Yep, the mediator, the persuader, or the the advocator, I believe, is I think the most useful. I am a huge advocate for people. Um, Part of where my advocacy starts is my attention to detail. I got bullied a lot in school when I was younger, and then in high school, I turned into a bully. Like I was the best bully ever. Like I was brutal. And then I realized that, like, oh, you know what? Like, the only reason I would bully people is because I was afraid of getting bullied myself, right? So how you turn that into empathy and how you turn that into like advocacy is I really notice when someone is suffering. Like I really notice when someone's trying to keep it together and they think they're hiding it, or like I really notice the little things in people, in groups, and group dynamics. It makes me a good person on set. It makes me a good creative leader, because a lot of times creative people will stifle their suffering and stifle their problems and they'll work away silently, and that's how you get burnout. That's how you get creators who loved esports for years ago, but now they're trying to find jobs in any other industry because of burnout. So my advocacy as a leader is often through that attention to detail and empathy, I suppose.
I love that you're an ENFP. I'm pretty sure I'm the same, or an ENFJ. I think I've done ENFJ, and I always liked. I think of ENFJ or ENFP. I've done it multiple times, but I always like. I think I'm ENFJ because I always like that I could say, "Oh yeah, so is Oprah and so is Obama." You know?
Yeah.
Because I think for the campaigner, which is interesting, I would think that'd be more of Obama, but like Quentin Tarantino, Rob Williams, Robert Downey Jr. as an ENFP. What other personality test have you taken? What are you into, like DISC or Enneagram or the Big Five or anything? What others do you like?
You know, I'm not sure the name of it, but I had to take this like hour-long test by some prospective employer, because I'm sitting there resumeing away. And the results I got for this, I actually really like. Because, how do I put it? There are three things about me that I think are very, very true. I am adaptable, not focused, right? And the reason I say that is because oftentimes people use focus like it's only a good thing, like yet focus, the most positive thing in the world, right? And if you're someone like me, you can go your whole life thinking, man, I just got to be more focused, right? But in reality, anything I've ever done that is extraordinary or cool or awesome comes not from my ability to focus on one thing, but it's my ability to adapt and innovate and not choose the pragmatic option, is to not be stifled by the idea that no, we don't have enough time, no, there's too much chaos. So by embracing that chaos, I think like it's helped me apply to jobs that are more exciting. So for example, let's see, if I'm reading right now my results.
Okay.
It says, in terms of my ambition, I am relaxed. And it's like all the way to the left of the slider. I'm like the most relaxed you can be in terms of one ambition. And I think that I've always considered the ENFP, the advocator, like that is the whole point of it. The whole point of it is that while the rest of the room is freaked out, I'm like relaxed, not only because it's my force of personality, but it's how you get things done. Like being relaxed and being open and being not closed fist, being open palmed, allowing people to come in and out, knowing when to let go, knowing when to take control. Like that's actually how I thrive. So sometimes I have to, use very purposeful language and let people know straight up, like you're not going to get a focused worker out of me. Don't put me on one project for 9 months, because like, sure, it's going to be good, but it's probably going to be like the easiest 9 months of my life. I'm going to get bored and the work's going to suffer because of it. Whereas if you gave me 6 projects over the 9 months, and each of those projects were like a stressful 1 month of hell that everyone else would hate, no, like give me that. Give me that project where I have to meet new people every week. Give me that project that takes advantage of my adaptability, of my mercurialness, of my move like water, right? So, you know, part of why I actually came on here, Bubba, and I really appreciated.
Sorry, was that a Bruce Lee reference, by the way?
Yes, it was. I'm really glad.
Thank you.
I'm really glad you caught that. You know, part of why I'm glad I could be here is because, you know, this understanding of my core skill set, like, it didn't just start. Like, I didn't just graduate college, and I didn't just, like, leave my first job at esports knowing who I was. Like, no, I am a chameleon if there ever was one. I can shift and adapt and change to pretty much fit any job I need because, you know, I got bills to pay. I got a career I want to forge. But when you always choose jobs based on that, you end up chasing your tail a lot. You end up facing burnout a lot. So the alternative is what Bubba is presenting here. You can look inward, reflect, take a look at your past career, see what you've done, see the pitfalls, see career personality tests, which I really love. And then here comes the hard part, kids, because it's easy to just talk. You now need to aggressively say what you are and what you aren't. So sometimes it's hard to tell like employers, I'm not focused. Like I'm not the most focused individual. But it feels so much better to be hired for precisely that reason than to then have to be the chameleon act and I have to pretend I'm focused all the time. It's like, no. I actually rather be hired by a job that just gives me an executive assistant. Perfect. Because the role didn't need someone who could focus. The role needs someone who's head in the clouds, finding 10 different solutions that they can present to the dev team every 3 days, you know? Like, and Bubba, don't even get me started. I've worked in indie for so long. I've worked in startups for so long that sometimes now that I'm out there looking for the full-time big jobs, I'm amazed at how slow they all move. I'm amazed at how slow even their trial periods are. Like, oh yeah, we'll have you on a 3-month trial period. Like, wait, you're paying me this whole time, but this is like a trial period. Like in the indie, you know, like startup, that would never fly. Like you never temporarily. So anyways, this is my current state right now. I'm in a state of communicating precisely what I want to do to the gaming industry and entertainment world. Because I think that's the move. I think that's the play.
Now, I want to talk about, I want to give people the kind of skill set beyond, you were 4 years at Invin? 4 years? So from starting out in journalism to becoming director of corporate strategy, what was the process there? You talked about, I mean, I feel like we're very similar in the sense of wanting to just, whatever's in front of me, I want to do it. I want to do it all. What drove you then to have the skill set to do corporate strategy? I mean, that sounds like that's a big boy job, you know? That's a big boy job. So like in Cali, when you're there in Irvine, what moved you and got you to that position, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, I love this question because there's two ways of answering it, right?
Okay.
You can go the practical way. You can be like, well, I improved my resume. I put quantitative numbers on my resume. Every time I met anyone in an executive or C-suite position, I talked to them. I spoke to them. I say, hey, my name is Tarazio. How are you doing? Oh, what do you do as so-and-so? That's because anytime you meet someone in a C-suite position, you must understand their entire job is people. So if you don't express to them that you're able to meet them as a person, like that's what they're looking for. So there's that way you can say that, like, there's ways to strategically get promoted. But then there's the organic, happy accident way that probably happened with me and is more likely how I get most of the jobs or promotions I get. I just speak my mind. I'm not afraid of being wrong. And sometimes when there's a room and there's a meeting and I sense things are getting tense, or I sense like, it's the point where we all have to admit everything sucks and we have no money, you know, like these hard moments, that's when I bloom. That's when I usually say, come on guys, let's rally. Come on guys, let's be positive. Oh, come on. You know, there's gotta be a way. It's when I usually stand up on a whiteboard and start saying, come on, let's brainstorm. What makes money right now? Come on guys. No, really, what? if we weren't even in this industry, what's the fastest way to make money? All right, selling water bottles to people in the desert. That's the idea I want, you know? Like, you just start to learn how to fill rooms with energy. Because when rooms are devoid of energy, that's how people get fired, and that's how like partners leave the room, and that's how you don't get the investor deck, and you know. So when I showed that a prowess in all problems, you know, in the company, not just the big ones, even in the creative problems, even in the little problems, like my ability to help the gears continue spinning, plus love of words and speaking and articulation.
Right.
It then coincided with a need for the company to pitch. We needed to raise money. We needed to raise capital. We needed to, you know, get more money to do more things in bigger places.
Okay.
So
cool.
Who's the person to pitch? Who's the person who's not only going to talk to these? It's me. It was just like everyone just looked around and said, well, obviously Nick's talking. Obviously Nick's going to have to be the person to represent all of these ideas we're putting on. So then, yeah, that's how it happened. And if you're going to be really honest, I asked them for the title director of corporate strategy because I was like, listen, guys, I'm trying to pitch. I just want a big and impressive title. And like, I want to start becoming the person in this company that like steers us. So yeah, that's how I suppose I got it through just one foot in front of the other, but never lying to oneself. If I feel something's wrong or stupid, I just gotta say it.
Well, it sounds like building the boat and rocking the boat and making the boat work. It sounds like that's what you're really good at.
I like that.
I like the term "build the plane as you fly it." I think is we all use that, but especially in startups, right? But and
also last thing, it was a lot of trust from Inven Global.
Okay.
The one thing I will say, like, you got to find people who trust you, because at the end of the day, all work you do is just crossing fingers with nice people that like we're gonna do a good job, right? So that was a big part of it too. They all had a lot of faith in me.
So the most common questions in job interviews are your strengths and your opportunities to grow, right?
Oh, I love it.
So you've probably done interviews like I have, and I like taking interviews just to take interviews sometimes, even if I want the job, just to get better at talking. Yeah. So think of that here when you've got, let's say, someone in the gaming and esports space watching along, and thanks, go over there on YouTube. Yeah. And so when people are listening in, you would say what to the question, what are your greatest strengths when working in a company like X or this company that you're applying for?
Yeah, honestly, I think my greatest strength is like, what do you call passive courage, right? I feel as if I am just an undaunted individual. I feel as if I don't like when anyone is motivated by fear. And I don't like when people and companies make decisions based on fear. Like, I don't like when I sense anxiety being the thing that inspires creative choice. So my greatest strength is whenever I'm in the room or whenever I'm in the project, like, it's gonna be a little brave. It's gonna be courageous. We're gonna make a risk. We're not swinging the bat to bunt. We're swinging the bat to make home runs. So that's my greatest strength by far. You can try to talk about anything else, but it's the shoot for the moon, or else you will fall for the stars or whatever. Like, as a kid, I stared at that poster. I believed it. I meant it. So, and I suppose my room for growth, my biggest room for growth, I can be a people pleaser because sometimes I just want you to say yes, because I can't be bothered with all of your little concerns because they don't matter. Because trust me, the event's happening in 3 weeks. So sometimes I just people please. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever you want. Yeah, okay, yeah. And that's probably because I have a purity of vision on the projects I want to do. Like I know what I want it to do. But that's a really bad habit because then it just complicates things and you end up making promises to people that you can make, but you don't want to make them because it like interrupts the promise you made someone else. And then before you know it, you're like, wait, I could have just asked for help or put up a simple wall, like one simple barrier, not be a people pleaser. And then the whole communication is like solved. So those are my two big things. I am passively brave, but I people please strategically. That's the pro.
Passively courageous is brave, I think what we're getting at here with you, which I agree. So you are humbly brave, I would think. It sounds like to me.
Well,
humbly courageous.
You know what? Maybe it's like I'm sarcastically brave. I'm sarcastically brave. It's like I'm brave in a nuanced, subtle way because I would never thump my chest and kick down a door because I just feel as if like that's the type of bravery that gets you a shot. But what I would do is like, I sense that this door needs to be broken down. So let's gather around, friends. You want to break down the door? You want to break down the door? Okay. 1, 2, 3, break down the door. And that's a leader in my eyes. When I was in film school, my mentor, the dean, shout outs to Miguel Valenti, Arizona State. He taught this thing called servant leadership. Servant leadership is when you give everyone on your team the benefit of the doubt. They're the pros. They're the experts. Trust me, I have the best art team in the world. I got the best devs behind me in the world.
Yeah.
I'm the servant. I'm the one whose only job is to remove obstacles from these geniuses. I got 10 little Einsteins working with me, but they're so sensitive and particular. I got to get rid of the boulders that are in their way. I got to get rid of all the things that slow them down. And if that's your mindset, and if your mentality as a producer or leader isn't like, I'm the one that has to make sure you do the job, but it's, I'm the one that paves the road so you can do the job, I think teams work better, smoother. And, you know, I'm a creator first and foremost. Like I went to school for poetry. So don't yell at me, you know, be soft to me. I'm sitting here pouring my heart and soul out to you, you know? So I know how to talk to creatives in that way. I think it goes a long way.
What are you most proud of? An accomplishment you can think of in your career, from 18 to now, or even before? What is an accomplishment you're most proud of?
Yeah, I would say, you know, I have a daily passive thing I'm proud of, and then I have like the high marks. So the daily passive thing I'm proud of is that I'm really good at Super Smash Bros. Melee. Like I'm just still really good at that.
I've actually watched you play a little bit.
Yeah, like I know it sounds crazy, but like I'm proud when I make a combo video still. I'm proud when I like find the focus to look at all my clips of my ranked games and like make dope plays. Like in my brain, the moment I stop becoming a competitive gamer myself, it's just like, so I love how my tag is old head. And when I go to these local tournaments, people are surprised, like, oh my God, you have a kid? Like, oh my God, what are you doing? See, but where I come from, I'm used to the best fighting game players being older. Like that's my generation. Like I'm used to Alex Valle being the best Street Fighter player in the room. He's like 45 when I was going, you know? So that's the thing I'm passively proud of. But my biggest highlights, speaking. Anytime I can speak in front of a big old crowd. This year I spoke at South by Southwest, which was very nerve-wracking.
Sure.
I am proud of the deliberate practice and prep I did for that. I mean, I'm someone who was like, I sometimes don't study for the test, right? I'm that kid. Like I was just go, I can't screw it. But, and you know what? I hate to say it. I know I've been to a lot of your all's events and panels. Sometimes I can wing it. Sometimes I can just say, oh, what's the event? Okay, sure. I just go up there.
Yeah, ask me 5 minutes before it starts. I'm probably good to go still.
But
Yep.
but this was a solo talk of mine,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and I just had the whole topic. It was all me. So I just, it was a rare moment in which I had to choose to not self-sabotage. I was like, no, I'm going to prepare the hell out of this. Like, I'm actually going to practice this speech more than anything I've ever practiced. More than anything I've ever practiced. And it went great. So I'm proud of that.
That's awesome, man. Okay, last really personal question.
I love them.
Tell me something that you haven't said in an interview, you haven't said on stage, you have it on your don't have on your resume, and you don't have on LinkedIn. That maybe not like who you are, like who you're married to, kid, like not that category, but something that a employer wants to hear that's not on your resume that would show authenticity and in you.
I'm actually really glad you said this, especially because you mentioned things you've never said, you don't say. This is kind of Michael Scott of me, but
okay.
I don't think even the employers that have worked with me for years, I don't think any of them truly understand how much this all means to me. I don't understand. I don't think they know how personally I take it. Like, I don't think they understand, like, when I get a new job and join a new team, I'm like a little kid about it. It's like first day of school. Like, I'm like legitimately very excited. Like, this is legitimately like a flow state good moment in my life. And all cylinders are firing. And at the same time, when a contract is over, when a layoff happens, when a team has to disband, when a company's bought out, like, that hurts. Like, I really it really, because I miss those people. I'm a nurturer. I'm a builder. I have, I've been a teacher outside of gaming, right? Like, outside of all of this, I haven't mentioned any of it. And I'd say that is something I suppose not many people know. I have nurtured so many young writers or young graphic designers in esports, or I've talked to so many like young pros. I've talked to so many just young whippersnappers in gaming. They're bright, and when they've worked for me or with me, like, I really take that HR stuff seriously. Like, you should train people, you should nurture them, like, you should leave them with skills, like, they should all know that boss I had, Nick, they can come back to me anytime. And if they have a question, that's just how because that's what I want people to do with me. Like, I expect I should be able to just go up to any of my old bosses or any of my old people and be like, oh my God, remember me, that person you spoke with every day for like 5 years? Right? There's some other things that we can like learn from or accomplish from each other. So that's my Michael Scott confession. I really do believe some people take the work-life balance thing a little too seriously, and their work becomes too separate from their life. It's like, where's the passion? Why are you even doing this? Like, it can't all just be for a paycheck, right? Like, there has to be a reason that you're upset it didn't work out. It can't just be because the company lost money, right? Because if it's just because the company lost money, you're never gonna you're never gonna be the LeBron James of gaming and entertainment companies if that is your goal. If your goal is, I'm just trying to turn in the green, because all the real best, all the real fakers of the world, they're like dream seeking, they're dream chasing, they're like trying to quell an indomitable fire that burns with them. And yes, I use florid and flowery language, but this is the reality of how human beings wake up in the morning. This is like how we don't become depressed by assigning meaning to the things we do. So I assign a lot of meaning to the things I do, Bubba. There's the too long to read.
You have now 60 seconds, you on the screen alone, to tell anyone out there about why you'd be great for the next contract, the next job, the next anything. Okay, there you go.
Hello, my name is Nick Drazio, and I would be fantastic for your next job, contract, opportunity for 3 reasons. Number 1, I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. So you got something to teach me, I will learn. Number 2, I am a born communicator. I'm from a big family. I've been around big crowds my whole life. If I'm not actively expressing an idea to someone, I'm usually sad about it. Number 3, I work harder than your current employees. And I know that's a lot to just say, but I know I do because it's just how I style my life. I work hard because not working hard feels horrible and like a waste of my inherent energy. So, 3 reasons. I think they're pretty solid. You should hire me. Thank you.
That's
it,
man.
Bubba.
Love it, man.
Good. And you know, Bubba, I'm glad I could do it for you too.
I think we have a lot in common. Obviously, I'm not a Smash Melee player, but I think we have plenty in common.
Okay, so let me ask you then: what is
Okay.
the one game you're still proud you're really good at?
Oh, there are no games I'm great at. I play a I play a variety of games, and the question I usually get, what am I best at? I can't think of a one. I play so many different things that I don't like to master any of them. I don't, playing World of Warcraft. I don't ever raid. I start a new character every 6 months.
Okay, Bubba, you and me are in a cage, right?
Okay.
And there's one video game you can choose.
Ooh.
And you have to beat me in that video game.
Okay.
What's the game you're choosing?
Probably Cruising USA.
There you go. I love that. I love that. You went deep. You went back in your past. You said, I'm the kind. Now, I love that game though.
Mm-hmm.
Cruising, yeah. Cruising the world. Cruising world. That's such a good game.
Yeah.
Cruising USA. Oh my god.
It saved my life. It saved my life once.
Really?
Yeah, my mom and I were driving down the highway, and I was driving. She was in the passenger seat, and it was raining, and a car was coming on the on-ramp, and it hydroplaned in front of us and hit the barrier wall, and I swerved out of the way. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, how did you do that?" I was like, "Video games, Mom.
Trust me.
Cruising USA, video games."
I've been preparing for this for some time now.
All those years you left me at the mall and the arcade playing Cruising USA and Mortal Kombat.
This is just the way my brain works, but I have to share it to you.
Okay.
This story reminded me of a very specific moment when I was 17 and in high school. I remember playing so much World of Warcraft as a mage, and I was AoE farming every day. Just get home from school, I would just AoE farm. I remember one day going to a school football game, seeing a crowd of students walk past me, and instinctively, muscle memory, my finger went to my hotkey for Frost Nova. I was like, there's a mob coming towards me. And I remember it was the first time in my life it's ever happened. And I was like, I think I'm playing too much World of Warcraft. And yeah, that's what reminded me.
That's really good, man.
It happened too.
That's really good. I love that.
I think I was maybe like, anyways, see, this is what happens when you start to talk to me about
Sure.
Can I ask you a question now?
The answer is I hit reload on every game, even when I'm playing Rocket League. I don't know why I hit R, but that's the answer. But yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
I hit R. Are you playing any Baldur's Gate 3? I know that's the new game. Everyone's into that.
I have not tried it because I know I will not do anything else. And so I went through a 90-day video game fast back in 2021, and I learned a lot about myself. 90-day video game fast. Lost 40 pounds.
You have an incredible ability to just do things.
Thank you.
Like, that's hard to do. 90-day video game fast. Like, you just did that?
Yeah, it was great. I've done a 30 and a 40-day one as well, like during Easter. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
You said you're also an ENFP.
I think I'm actually ENFJ.
Something I read that I think explains why you're just good at doing things, right? is they say that a persuaders, and I think like the certain ENF part of it, like you're so good at persuading people, you even persuade and manipulate yourself all the time.
1000%. Yes.
So you,
yes. Very true.
See, that's how I know I work harder than most people.
Right.
Because, I mean, the voice in my head is the most annoying son of a bitch in the world, you know? But it's just so good at telling me not to be lazy. It's so good at calling me out on my bullshit. It's so good at, like, every time I'm about to say, like, it's good enough. There's this voice that says, no, it's not. It's obviously bad. Look at that. It's horrible. Look at that. Oh, okay. And I have to work hard. What I'm trying to say is I'm slave to my own mind and sense of aesthetic. So hire me, and then you can profit off of this neurodivergence I have.
There we go.
What I'm saying is I'm obsessed over the details, and in exchange for money, you can have this skill, and you can point it in any direction you want. You can just tell me to do something, and I'll do it. That's how employment works, right?
Neurodivergence, man. We're taking over the world.
You know what? I heard someone wrote, which is a funny thing to say, I heard someone wrote. I read someone write that back in the day, people would just say neurodivergence is, that guy, he's just smart and weird.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Smart and weird people used to exist.
Yeah.
And we just called them smart and weird.
Yeah.
So I claim to be smart and weird. I reclaimed it. And you know what? I usually like that's not true. I prefer weird people. I don't prefer smart and weird people. I prefer hanging out with just weird people.
100%. Yeah.
Weird dummies are the most fun you can have.
Yeah. When kids call you weird, like, yeah, of course I am. Why not?
Do you have any kids?
I got 3 little boys. Yeah.
Dang. I only have one.
I heard a kid in the background. Yeah. Little girl?
No, boy.
Little boy?
You know what? Now that I'm a dad, every time I see anyone with more than one kid, it's just incredible sign of respect. I'm just like, wow.
Well, we got 3, and then our friends who have 4 or like 7 or 5 or whatever are like, oh my God, what's wrong with you guys?
7, 5.
That's like, you know, church
that's
families.
The middle of the country numbers.
That's where I live. I live in Kansas City.
I'm so jealous.
That might be more northern of Utah, the ones with the 7 or 8, but yeah.
Do you want to switch? Do you want to live in LA? I don't like being here.
Man, I just visited London. I'd love to visit there instead and stay there. It'd be a lot more fun.
You know, that's actually how I met my wife in London.
In London? She is from what part of? She's from China?
She is from China, mainland China, Shenzhen, China.
Shenzhen.
But we just both so happened to be in London. It was the first time I was over there. It's probably the last time I'm ever going to be there.
Yeah.
And I remember she was on the ground, like just covered in mud and water, and everyone was like, everyone was like kicking her and on the street, and she was like, help me, help up. And I said, no. It was the first time I met.
This is
Can't believe we're married now. Yeah, it's a joke. Sorry. It's so stupid.
You can't fool a sarcastic person, man.
I know, right?
Sarcasm.
Do you know what a lot of my humor is? And I have to just own this. Sometimes I start telling a story, and I'm so bored with my own story.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and then a bunch of aliens came.
Yeah, an alien, the lion, something happened. Yes, you're exactly
And then the craziest thing happened. I disappeared. You know, I need a curveball. You know.
Yeah, right. That's the only way to get people's attention. Sometimes.
You know what? Do you really think? And I'm gonna say, here's another word to anyone watching this. So, are we still live?
Of course.
Oh, no way. Okay. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about hiring me, right? You're thinking about hiring Nick, but you're like, what's something he's not like telling me? What's the last red flag and the last green flag he can share? And then, you know what, Bubba, I'm going to ask you this question too. What's your red flag? And then what's your green flag?
Okay.
Because my biggest red flag is that I can be in bed late and I'm literally texting people on my way, like almost there. And I don't know why I do this. I'm just like, what's happening to me? That's probably the most toxic red flag about me. What's yours? What's the weirdest, worst thing you do?
I didn't realize it was a red flag, but yeah, that is one of the same one I have. honey,
see,
I'll be home. Honey, I'm leaving, and then it's 10 minutes later. I'm still doing something.
Yeah. Why do we do this, Bubba? Why?
Because so neurodivergence as well also have time management issues where we visualize time a little differently than people who don't have ADHD and don't have other things, because we visualize how fast can I drive there, or how quickly can I get to my car, or if I put all these things in my place on the way to the door, I'll be able to pick them up and get there. Right. So
yeah. Someone once described it as imagine having a cup of coffee and it's too hot, right? So you put it in the freezer for 30 seconds. That's what the ADHD person think works. It's not how it works. It's not how time works.
I heard a really good couple out of London have a really great Instagram feed and TikTok. They're called ADHD Love, and her husband or partner describing like, why don't, now that you take pills, aren't you medication, aren't you better? Well, imagine that you have a bag full of balls and you manage your day by using those. And well, I have now I have a bag now, because before I was just carrying them in my arms. Now I have medication. I have the bag too, but I also have holes in my bag, and I'm trying to manage it. So when my wife saw that, she's like, "Oh my gosh, no wonder. I understand. I thought things would be better, but man, now you just have a way to manage them a little better." So
you know what? There's a part of me that thinks this whole current wave of self-reflection, self-identity, who we are, my brain, this. What if it's just a bunch of left brain people and right brain people? Now that we all have our own phones and devices, and the algorithm is unmasking all of our personalities, it's like we're all starting to realize, it's like the left and the right brain are totally different. And some people, they're steered by the nose from the right brain, and some people are steered by the nose of the left brain. I really sometimes think that's the case, because all of these emergent different patterns of us, like, we're only starting to understand them because of the constant conversation that social media allows. There's a constant buzz that normally just would not happen. Like, do you really think 50 years ago, millions of people were comparing the precise way in which they pour cups of coffee, like video evidence comparisons?
Yeah, research was isolated. Yeah, research was isolated in universities in 5 places.
Yeah, and the scale of the research, it's just, if you were an anthropologist, I feel as if you just got to be studying TikTok now, right? Aren't you just studying TikTok hashtags, and aren't you just
probably
getting footage en masse and then juxtaposing that footage constantly? And then aren't you just like getting 10 to 15, interns every a quarter? And aren't you telling them, watch this video, and I want you to categorize all of the adjectives that you would use to describe these people? And then you would just see how many of the people fit in this bucket. And then there you go. There's your new cutting edge anthropologist TikTok research.
It's definitely
on, the habits.
It's definitely driven. It's definitely been driven by sales analytics, Google and sales analytics on what we should buy, and when you say something on your phone or when your phone's around, and then later you have an ad for it. It's all sales analytics driving research, like you're talking about, for sure. That's the key point, counterpoint, or that's the key point that's giving us this psychological understanding of things even deeper, and globalization, obviously.
I have an esports tie-in. Let's go full circle with this.
Let's do it.
We're talking about Ghost of Gamers when I used to work there, right?
Yeah.
The big secret, the big untold secret about Ghost of Gamers back in the day is, we had these rankings that were so important. The Hearthstone rankings were very accurate. The Dota rankings very accurate. CSGO rankings very accurate. Even the Heroes of the Storms rankings very accurate at that time, right? It's very powerful 4 or 5 years for Ghost of Gamers. All of those rankings, do you know how they were populated? Do you know how they were made? Like, how did we manage to log every single competitive Hearthstone match and then put them all? Well, there was no shortcuts. There was no easy solution. It was just manual labor.
Right?
Like Go To Gamers just en masse hired
Yeah.
young kids, interns, whatever, and en masse had them manually watching the games.
Sure.
And then every time someone won, you logged it.
Yep. Had to be.
I did this work forever, right? Just logging. But the interesting thing happened from it. The result of that was kind of like we built the pyramids, you know? Like, yes, it was this ridiculous Herculean task that you would never expect anyone to do. But the result was like a ranking that was like solid. Like it was undeniable. We even had every single one of the heroes they would choose. Because we would sit there and manually do it. So Nick, why did you just bring up the power of manual curation like that? Well, I really do believe that all of this just free, willingly shared data. The marketers that learn to like, you know what, instead of this big approach to big data and algorithms, let's get a think tank. Get 20, 25 really smart-minded, emotionally intelligent people, and let's start doing that type of curation. Let's start having people manually like combing over the hashtags, the trending, and like let's get some data from that or some insights from that matter. Some insights from that like we've now built something. Like this is a tool in which you can actually use to say truths about the world. Because at Go To Gamers, it was really hard to say truth about the state of the competitive esports system before you had that rankings. Before you had the rankings, what could you point to? What could you point to say, oh, do you see, look, this player is getting better? You say, well, proof, source, well, look at the rankings. He's increased. So like there has to be coming soon the equivalent to that towards like consumer metrics, you know, like there has to be some like really, or at least this is my fantasy, some return to the analytical, some return to the one-on-one instead of like the broad algorithmic strokes that everyone seems to be painting. You know, like everyone's trying to do everything in one step, but who knows, Bubba? This is what I start to talk about when things get really unhinged, right?
Well, Nick, I think we need to play some games together sometime. I do have Smash Ultimate on my Switch, but not Melee or anything like that. So you have to share. You have to.
Don't worry, Smash Ultimate. Sometime. You're in the right lane. That's a great game.
That's good. That's good. Well, stick around back in the control room, and I'm gonna shut down the show, and I'll come chat with you, man. I appreciate you being here today.
Well, bye. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Nick. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Next week, we potentially should be having some more folks for Spotlight. I do think we'll have some folks from Epic Games who've been laid off that are looking for work. But thank you all again for being here. Check out other shows that we're going to have this week and next week. We'll have Good Morning Gamers next Tuesday for sure, 11 a.m. And definitely here next week, 11 a.m. Eastern on Thursday. And soon we'll be starting up Invite Sent for the season 3 to play some video games, interview people. And in November, with the Rave Agency, we'll be doing the Rave show with me, doing esports and metaverse and all sorts of fun stuff. We'll have some fun doing that. Please donate to charity as well, to the Video Games and Esports Foundation. Stay amazing. Have a great time. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Hello, My name is Christy Kester. As a public educator for the past 24 years, I have watched as interest in esports has exploded in schools across the world. Last fall, I joined the High School Esports League and helped to establish the education department. Since then, we have been working hard to integrate esports into education to create a scholastic gaming experience where students can learn, play, and compete. With our evidence-based, STEM.org-approved gaming concepts curriculum, schools can offer 4-credit classes during the school day that help improve chronic absenteeism, student engagement, and mental health.
As a senior health advisor for High School Esports League and a former ER physician, I see the incredible need for supporting mental health in students in today's schools. In fact, schools at a formidable crossroads where a pervasive and persistent decline in youth mental health now intersects with staff burnout. This has not been a sudden problem, but rather one we've seen over decades. The American Academy of Pediatrics announced in 2019 that 1 out of 3 students meets the criteria for generalized anxiety disorder before graduation. And the CDC reaffirmed that between 2009 and 2019, depression increased in adolescents by roughly 40%. The most telltale sign that grabbed all of our hearts was when the Surgeon General announced in December of 2021 that female adolescents increased their visits to the emergency departments around the nation by 51% for suicidal ideations. In the face of this, schools are desperately seeking solutions and ways to support those that struggle with mental health challenges. Now, these statistics that I mentioned are averages. We know there are some cohorts that are at higher risk, particularly those students who do not feel they have a safe place or a legitimate connection to school. That's where esports represents a tremendous opportunity. Students who are not currently involved with sports, music, arts, and traditional extracurriculars are left with minimal opportunities to make a connection. Yet many of these students find connections to their friends and other social outlets through online activity, including gaming. So, Scholastic Gaming represents an opportunity to leverage an area of interest into a legitimate class that meets state standards and expectations, all through an evidence-based curriculum that can simultaneously support self-esteem, self-efficacy, and life skills in many kids who desperately need it.
Hi, my name is Michael Russell. During my career as a teacher, I was fortunate enough to have the support of my administrator as I began the journey to establish the first 4-credit Scholastic Gaming course in the nation. At HSEL, we have the resources and data to help you speak with your administrators about the impact that Scholastic Gaming and esports can have for your students. We have strategies that can help you with acquiring technology and curriculum, such as ESSER funds, grant applications, and partnerships. The High School Esports League has invested significant resources in helping our education partners, and we are excited about this opportunity to help you establish Scholastic Gaming in your school.
Life is busy. Every day we ask questions like, what's happening today? What should I wear? How am I going to fit everything in? But then there are bigger questions like, why am I here? What's my purpose? Where am I heading? Is there more to life than this? These are some of life's big questions, but there's rarely enough time to think them through. That's why Alpha exists. Alpha is a place to explore life's big questions in a safe and open environment. It's a series of sessions where anyone can share their thoughts and opinions and ask questions without feeling judged. When you come to an Alpha, you'll notice that first, there's food. Whether it's a full meal or a light snack, this is the time to get to know each other in a casual setting. Next, you'll watch an Alpha talk. The talks are created to engage and spark conversation. They explore big issues around faith from a Christian perspective. After the talk is a time for discussion. This is the most essential part of any Alpha. It allows everyone to share their own opinions on the ideas presented in the talks. It's a time for people with different thoughts, beliefs, and experiences to ask honest questions and have open conversation. Every week, there are guests coming for the first time to an Alpha in their community. Alpha is for everyone, regardless of background or beliefs. There's no pressure, no follow-up, and it's completely free to attend. Come and explore life's big questions. Find an Alpha near you today.